how the most lethal fighting force is made. United States Marine Corps boot camp. Let's go.
This week, basically, in a nutshell, is the recruits' first indoctrination into any kind of field environment, sleeping out in the field, eating MREs on a regular basis, and just not having those comforts that a squad bay or back home provide.
We'll get up and we'll move down there to where they rush again past the second half of the course. Just
that place hasn't changed a bit. Same looking woods. Now, there was that airfield. I don't remember what they called it. It's called a BWT. But the airfield had a name for it. If you guys remember, put that in the comments. Place doesn't look like it's changed one bit.
Your Kevlar and your face better be inside the daggone dirt as you freaking low crawl. Do you understand? Let me catch one of you lifting up your freaking head. We're gonna have freaking problems. You understand? Day movement, the day movement course, and the night movement course. The day movement course is an obstacle. It's an exercise that we use to help recruits understand what it might be like in a combat situation. There's a lot of different obstacles going on, not just physically, but mentally as well.
Faster, crawl faster, faster!
That cloud, that dust, the smoke, debris of the battlefield, all that is realistic. All that is happening right now in Afghanistan and Iraq.
You guys remember shelter halves? For you guys that don't, Google that. BWT was a good experience. I just remember one guy, we were pushing, and the drill instructor had us pushing in an amp bed, right? Red amp bed. This guy next to me on my right, we had him crawling up. He started kind of freaking out. I thought it was just about the ants. We ended up getting anaphylaxis, swelling up, and never saw him again. Good times.
It's combat mindset. Drag him off the course. Grab him by the ear, bitch. You just died. You're dead. You just got shot.
Sir.
You're done. No, get down. Get down. Now drag him off the course. Drag him. Your body just got shot.
Yeah, it's going to be fun.
Now get him off the freaking way. The training is very strenuous. It's physically strenuous. It's mentally strenuous.
I would agree. It was exhausting. You're constantly getting poked mentally. Physically, I went in shape, but they can wear anybody out. But at this point, you're in good shape, right? So they can PT you, they can, quarter deck, all that. No big deal. But it is exhausting because they're constantly screaming at you. You never do anything right. And that's part of it. You won't do anything right. What you guys experience, put that in the comments. What did you do right, and what did you always mess up on?
Get down! Get down! Get him out of the kids! Get him out! Get him out! Get him out! Scream! Scream!
Wow. My Lord. To this day, if I see somebody low crawling or even high crawling, and their face is not dragging the ground low crawling, and their butt's up in the air high crawling, their feet are up, I always think back, get your feet down, get your head on the deck, right? It's one of those things that gets drilled in your head. When's the last time I low crawl? Was when I was in the Marine Corps, long time ago, right? But you see it just buried into your skull that you never forget.
The night movement course is very similar to the day movement course. However, it's a more tactical environment. They have to maintain silence. In the daytime, there's a lot of yelling, there's a lot of screaming, there's a lot of movement on the fire. At night, the focus is to strictly be on being as tactical and as silent as possible.
Help! Get me out of here!
Good old days. I can't remember if that was Constantino wire, just regular barbed wire. I do remember at Camp Lejeune one time on night land nav getting hung up at a bunch of Constantino wire with 3 or 4 other guys. Don't remember why. It was night land nav, and that was a good time.
At this stage or this phase in recruit training, they're at a mature state, a mature phase. They've pretty much grown.
They are a younger group. They're a little bit more immature than the groups that we get in the winter. But that will come a time. You can tell the difference between when they got here and now, and how they respond and how they act and whatnot. They have a better understanding of how the Marine Corps works now.
As drill instructors, we've seen them grow. We've seen them work well together. They're starting to work in fire teams. They understand what a fire team.
My buddies that were drill instructors, I went down to see one in San Diego, and the first thing I thought was, what the hell is this place from Parris Island? But he would tell me the funniest stories, and he said it was always hard not to laugh at the recruits during the first phase because of the dumb shit they would do. if you guys were DIs, put that in the comments, the stuff that you had a hard time not laughing about.
They understand that they need to know the recruit to the left and the right of them, as Marines do to the left and the right.
Keep it tight. I say run, guys. The training objective of BWT is just to get them a starter into, the low crawls and the movement under fire and whatnot. The primary objective of the Crucible is, okay, now you're going to do all these missions, but now you have lack of food and lack of sleep.
No, I didn't have the pleasure doing the Crucible. I don't remember much food at BWT. I remember 0 sleep in infantry training. So maybe they've combined the two in some fashion or done something different. What do you guys know about that? How they changed the program? Because MCT first came out, I think, in '89 with General Gray. And I know that changed things up a little bit for guys that weren't in the infantry. Put that in the comments what your experience in that is.
Chow is on you. Do we understand that?
Yes, sir.
Chow, water, everything is on you. Do we understand that?
Show me the back.
Bugle sticks. I don't know, fighting.
Yo! La cabeza! La cabeza! Yeah, beat him down, right? Take the stick, bro, right? Take the stick, take the stick. Beat him down.
Okay, it is bugle sticks.
What's your plan? Put him to throw the rope over with the...
Now this looks like some worthwhile training. I've seen this where it's almost like what they do at OCS. Like, here's ammo cans, here's a hurt guy, get him over this obstacle, get him through there. And there is probably 1 or 2 ways to do it, but not 10. So they got to work together, and they can't be total rocks.
Tight on.
Say. Get it. There you go. There you go. Watch your feet, watch your feet.
Don't let go.
Barrels. Time's up. There you go. That's how they do.
A lot of ideas. A lot of good ideas. It was a little bit too late, though, as far as the time's concerned. So, but they had the gist of it towards the end. They know exactly how to get it through.
Yeah, that type of training is useful. I think the biggest thing is guys are tired. They got to work together. Hell with the obstacle, what they're trying to cross, but just getting 4 or 5 guys to agree to one thing, the best way to do it, because everybody's got an opinion, especially when people are tired and they've never been there. They're new guys, right out of high school mostly, trying to figure out how this is going to work. And that looks like some valuable training. What was your experience with that? Let me know.
Most challenging part of the Crucible would be the movement to contact and the ammo resupply points. You got to work together. You have a fire team that you have to get to the end, and then you also have, you're doing the low crawl and then the ammo resupply and whatnot. I used to eat at Mickey D's.
I remember coming back from BWT, and it was the first time I hear this sound in the distance, and it was WMs. I guess it was somewhat near wherever they train, and I hear these women sounding off, and I was like, whoa, what's going on here? Because I hadn't seen a woman the whole time except in receiving, a woman DI. Otherwise, I'd never seen any women, no less heard women sounding off, which clearly was a difference compared to, say, other recruits, male recruits. You guys ever experienced that when you were in?
But now I'm eating memories.
One of the most challenging parts of the Crucible is definitely the hike back for the recruits. These recruits, depending on what groups they are put into, certain days are a little bit more rigorous than others, depending on what they do the first day or the second day. Either way it goes, on that last day that they leave there, they went through everything. They ran the gauntlet as far as physically, mentally. Everything is going to be there. They've been pushed to their limits, and now they're going to put all their gear on. They have to back the distance back to the Iwo Jima monument. To my mind, during the Eagle.
Now, we used to do the boxing in that at Leatherneck Square. I don't remember doing it. We didn't have the Crucible, but I don't remember doing it anywhere else. But it was fun, right? All the Leatherneck Square stuff. Now they've got some modified version of jiu-jitsu baked in the cake. But it was all good stuff. And the lefties, they had a hard time because you had to go down with your right foot. So the lefties always had a struggle with once you get them down, you know, you're putting your heel near their head kind of thing. You guys remember that?
Ceremony. I feel a sense of pride, a very strong sense of pride that I am handing possibly the next Commandant of the Marine Corps, possibly the next Sergeant Major of the Marine Corps.
I think what he said, he felt good about making Marines and always make an impact. Well, I can tell you one thing. I remember two guys named Farmer Lewis. They were drill instructors I had that always stick out in my mind still to this day for various reasons. Now, on the family thing, we came out in Charlie's and we marched out during the day, and the DI said, no hugs. If we see you, you're going to pay. So I remember stiff arming my mother, said no hugs.
Oh, we couldn't play. Oh my God, hear him. We gotta go. We gotta move.
We had family day outside. It was right on the grinder where you graduate. They marched us out there. We met our family. It was hot. I remember it was awkward, too. I hadn't seen my family. I never thought I'd see my girlfriend again. She shows up. That was a weird experience. If you like this kind of stuff, take a look at the cards above. Semper Fi.